God give you good day, sir. You're wondering why you should choose the sealed knot for your charity, for your spectacular performance, to entertain and excite the public? Seal Knot is the largest reenactment unit in Europe. There is no other society, no single society that can offer our numbers, and in fact we don't believe there is an association of societies that can match our battlefield numbers. See for yourself. Within that large body of men, we have to have the infrastructure to communicate and to consolidate the people and the activities so that we run the whole show for you.
Advance your pike!
Apart from working with you with your charity or with your particular aims, there is no other reenactment society that can turn out so many people on the battlefield. We have the communication lines through our own rank officers within our regiments that will organise the whole event for you. And it won't be just military. There's increasingly interest in the civilian side. And we can portray crafts, domestic activities, Recently we've introduced formal dining in the 17th century. What they ate, but most importantly, how they ate. And many of our current manners date back to this period. Joining us at the end is the Lord General of the Parliament Army. The guests will be offered water if they have a suitable spring, as the water wasn't very healthy in most of the 17th century places. The chap who looked after the wine and the beer for the table was called the butler, a name that we still use for a senior servant in a household. But the butler was so called because he got the wine from wine butts or beer butts. That said, the rich people put spice on their food because the meat was horrible. Spices were very expensive, makes the food very tasty, and shows your status, which is what this whole thing is about. We know our performances and our whole ethics and the way we work appeals to a huge range of people of all ages.
Archon!
Many of our members are cross-generation, from grandfather to smallest child. And when you see them all in 17th century apparel, it really does bring history alive.
Well, I mean, there's a range of events that we provide, from the small and the intimate and the, in a historic building, a castle or a country house, on a battlefield, all the way to huge major events. And I think we're the only society or reenactment group that can provide that total range. And that in itself is something that allows us to tailor a product to this specific event, the specific place, the specific time, the sponsor, and that audience connection. That in itself though can provide a huge logistical problem. You imagine the amount of people that have to be in the right place, the infrastructure that we have to put on. I like to think of it as, certainly for a major event, if you were to suddenly move 5,000 to 6,000 people and set up a town for a weekend and then walk away on the Monday morning or the Tuesday morning where the site was so clean and pristine you would hardly know that 5,000 to 6,000 people had been there. That is an achievement. That is something that many people underestimate in the skill and the experience that it takes to deliver that. But we do that, and we do that regularly. We do it 4, 5, 6 times a year on a major level, and hundreds of times on small and intimate levels. And it is many of the places we work are perhaps of archaeological significance, and they don't want, of course, they don't want to be disturbed, they don't want damage, they don't want any residue, and so to move in and a low footprint, so to speak, and then to move on and have provided a product that satisfies. I suppose for me there's also a kind of triangle of who you have to satisfy. There's the audience, there's that sponsor needs, and actually we have some internal needs, because to get our people to travel across the country and turn up where they're paying their own petrol money, they're paying for their own weekend away, there's a certain element of providing for their needs, and we managed to do that. We managed to balance that triangle very well, and that's something again we can be very proud of. The arms of service, we have a range. The infantry, there are pike-armed infantry and there are musket-armed infantry, or the shot as they're known. Those are the guys with the guns. They are effectively matchlock muskets. That's a metal tube that ignites gunpowder using a little hole in the side that uses a piece of cork to ignite that. It's actually so simple a piece of technology, that's why it worked, and that's why it was effective. You didn't need to clean it, there was no moving parts to break, it basically functioned outdoors in all weathers, being badly treated. So it's a lot more effective than some people might have you believe. The other arm of service is the pike. The pike is effectively a long spear, sharpened spear, and it's rather long. Its primary use is to protect the musketeers from cavalry. If you imagine the muskets are quite slow to reload and fire. And during those pauses, it's quite possible for a fast-moving body of cavalry to get in amongst those guys and wipe them out. So the pike's there to keep cavalry at a distance. And that's effectively the infantry. But there are people supporting the infantry, whether it be drummers, officers for command and control, and you'll see people with water and other support services to make sure people are safe and functioning and doing the job without, say, getting heat stroke or anything else that we don't want to happen. We also have cavalry. Cavalry, hopefully self-explanatory, people on horseback who ride into and out of combat. They normally use a sword. We have cavalry who also carry carbines and pistols, and for specific displays that can add an absolutely beautiful piece of movement, fire and drama. And that's the good thing about the cavalry, they move quickly, adds that motion and movement to any battlefield and any performance. And we also have the artillery, the guns, the cannons, and the noise that they produce does give an event that wow factor where people are literally taken back by that sound, that explosion, the feeling of the shockwave through the air. And so that adds another piece of drama. When you start to bolt that together into a sort of big show that we can do, that becomes a real big eye-opener. That's where people can see a scale and perspective that you can't get through other media. But one of the things that we do effectively that sets us apart is that grand scale. But also don't want to get away from the intimacy that we provide in a small country house with a half dozen people doing a one-to-one, very close up, and the sorts of things we do in school, where we send individuals into schools and link with both Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4 syllabus, where we get that connection and it brings it alive. I suppose actually bringing it alive is really what it's all about. It's bringing that life to what might be a dusty book, whereas seeing it in action is where it becomes that word, action. And I think we add an element of fun to it as well.
If you use the seal knot, you are using an outfit that will provide educational interest, charitable interest, and just public spectacle at the same time. If you're not at all convinced about what I say, here's my invitation. Come and see for yourself. You'll be impressed. Good day to you, sir.